G'day guys, welcome to the Goodyear Autocare Warana V8-T2 E-Series. We are live here from Barber Motorsport Park in Alabama for the Nationwide Tracking Systems Barber 100. Joining me in the commentary booth tonight is Aiden Schultz. Aiden, mate, it was an interesting week last week. We're at Barber. It's a hell of a track. It's got a lot of elevation change, a lot of curved braking zones, a lot of curved acceleration zones, mate. It's going to be one interesting race. How excited are you for this race?
Oh, welcome to you tonight, Matt. It's amazing tonight. The last round was amazing. As you mentioned, elevation change is going to be massive, but coming off an awesome round one, I'm really looking forward to round two and seeing what these guys can pull out.
That's it, mate. That's it. We had a very interesting round at Long Beach. We've got the championship starting to heat up. We had the young Rehan Leonage, the son of Lassus Leonage, last year's champion. He took out his first podium for the season. I bet everyone was amazing in the commentary booth. We're just all lost for words. Dan Stevens currently leading the championship, and it's really heating up. He's got a target on his back for this one, and it's going to be very action-packed, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I, and you make a reference there to Dan Stevens, leading the championship, and Rehan getting second. And that was amazing for that young guy to be able to do that last weekend. But we're looking through practice and quality results. It's going to be a similar night tonight with all the drivers. So the usual guys are at the front. It's really tied up the front. It is a long series, but the usual players from last week are playing their hand in this one as well. So let's see how they transition that into the race again.
Sorry guys, I've had a technical glitch on my end. Aiden, I completely missed what you said just then, mate. So I'm just going to have to agree with you on that one. But we've got qualifying warming up here, guys. The top, what do we got? The top 20 only separated by 1 second, so it's heating right up exactly like last week at Long Beach. Aiden?
It is, and we've got third place in the championship. David Nash already on top with 26 minutes to go. He's set down a banker lap at a 124.46, so he's setting the pace early and showing people that he's not mucking around.
Definitely not, mate. And Kai Slaughter just behind him, only 1/100th of a second away. That is not even a blink of an eye, mate. You wouldn't even be able to fit a hair between that photo finish right there. So it's going to be an interesting start at the race. It's a very short run onto the entry to turn one once the race gets underway, guys. Curved braking zone into the... I just had a mental blank here. Carousel, that's the one. Into the carousel. So it's going to be interesting going too wide, trying to get two cars to fit through nice and clean on the first lap without having any incidences.
And Matt, you mentioned Kai Sloggett, and if we go back to round one last week, he was the hard luck story. He set the pace all night through practice, qualifying, and then into the race. He was doing really, really well, and a couple of little mistakes and stuff like that happened when he was coming back through the field. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes back tonight after having a hard luck story last week.
Yeah, unfortunate for Kai Sloggett, mate. As you said, he was the hard charger last week. He set the pace all night long, and just unfortunately it just came undone for him. And just one of those bad races, I guess. And he's obviously out tonight. He's in P2. He's obviously willing to make amends and make up some lost ground for the unfortunate race he had last week. Who else have we got in the field, mate, that you're looking forward to seeing tonight get out on track and sort of try and make a name for themselves?
Look, at the end of the day, I can't go past young Leonage again. What he did last... Sorry, I was just looking at something there. My apologies. What he did last week was absolutely outstanding. He's up there in 7th at the moment, so he's going to be one to look out for. We're going to be having to look out for David Nash as well, who's in 3rd. I can't quite see where he is there in qualifying at the moment. He's up at 1st.
Nash is currently 1st on pole, mate.
Yeah, he's at 1st spot, so he's setting, as I said earlier, setting the pace, but... Yeah, I just reckon young Leonage, he's got a really old head on his shoulders for his age. Just what he did last week was amazing. But Nicholas Garrett as well, he was up there last week as well, so he's one to look out for.
That's it, mate. Just to cut you off there, mate, Dan Stevens is into the wall here. Looks like he's done a fair bit of damage here, so he's getting a tow back to the pits by the looks of it. That car is undrivable, which is unlucky in qualifying, so let's hope he can get rid of those butterflies and hopefully in the race have a good clean race and not do that again. So, but speaking of that, he is our championship leader, so I reckon what do you reckon, Aiden? I reckon, give it say 5 odd minutes, let him get a few more laps in and we drag him into the commentary booth for a hot lap. Oh no, actually I've just been informed, sorry Aiden, he's going to be starting from the pits for getting a tow, so
that's so unfortunate for him. After setting some really good lap there and having that unfortunate incident, that's really unfortunate. But with the car pace that he's got, I'm sure he's going to be there at the end of the race.
See, and just to inform the guys at home why we're not letting them get out on track, it's like the real life. You break your car in qualifying, you break your car in practice. You're definitely not, or if you break your car in qualifying in general, you're definitely not going to be racing. So we try and make this series as close to the real world as possible. So unfortunately, Dan had to get a tow. He's damaged his car beyond repair to be able to drive it back to the pit. So he had to get a tow. Obviously, tow truck means your car's pretty much gone. So he's going to be starting from pit lane in the race, and it's unfortunate, which means we're just going to have to miss out on the hot lap, which I was a little bit shattered about. I was looking forward to that. Getting shown around Barber Motorsports in the development series here, and getting talked through it by one of the drivers and having a first-hand view, or first eye view, I should say, of what Barber looks like going around. So I reckon we might be able to jump on with Rian Leonage here on a onboard view, and I reckon we'll go for a quick hot lap and just see how he goes around here, guys. So turn up the volume a little bit, guys, and enjoy this. How was that, guys? Young Rehan taking you for a lap around Barber Motorsports Park. He's currently sitting in 7th position with a 124.9. He's doing extremely well. Hopefully he can make amends in the race, make up a few positions and get back up onto the podium again and start fighting for the championship. But Aiden, let's talk a bit about the series, mate, and a little bit about who makes this happen. We've got all these sponsors behind us that makes it possible for not only the Super Series that's held on Tuesday nights, but also the Goodyear Autocare Warana V8-T2 E-Series. Let's give them a plug, mate. Who are their sponsors, and give them a good mention.
Yeah, Matt, all this doesn't happen without these guys. If they're not in behind the series, these guys wouldn't be able to go racing. So a big shout out to the naming rights sponsor, Goodyear Autocare Warana. Without these guys, that wouldn't happen. Also, Coghlan Engineering, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, and a Bruzy Racewear. Amazing for those guys to come on board for this series. Their ongoing support is absolutely appreciated, not only by us as broadcasters, or commentators rather, JP Simshed as the broadcasting, and all the drivers, mate. They're so appreciative. So get on, like their pages, support those businesses, because they're the ones that support you.
And you said a key word there, mate. You said drivers. Now, you're 100% right. This series is not possible. We can have all these sponsors behind us, but if we have no drivers, we've got nothing to give you on screen at home, guys. So a huge shout out goes to these guys that are driving, guys and girls. They work 9 to 5. You know, some people even work 7 till 6 at night. They work stupid hour days, yet they get home, they sit in the sim, they practice for hours on end every night, every weekend, just to be able to come on screen for you guys on Wednesday night and give you guys the show and go racing. So these guys put in a lot of hours of effort just to get around the tracks. So, and we can't also forget, mate, is the round sponsor this tonight is the Nationwide Tracking System. So get amongst them, guys. Give them all a like. Give them all a plug on Facebook. And don't forget to like and share the stream also. It's key to get it out there, get the name out there, get more people to come in. And the more races we can get going, the better. So get onto them, guys. Give them a like and enjoy it.
And you mentioned there, Matt, that these guys do work 9 to 5 jobs or whatever hours they run. But you might look at this and look, you know, it's not real life racing, it is sim racing, but it is very realistic. Some of these sims are worth up to $10,000 to $15,000, and the realistic factor of those is amazing, and it takes a lot out of them. So for them to be able to come onto this, to be able to have the concentration, to be able to put that car at the point every single time is absolutely amazing. I recommend anyone that wants to go racing, that doesn't want to do the real life racing and wants to come on and have a go out and do it, because you will not regret it. It is the most amazing racing. You create some great friendships, and it's more realistic than you think. So come on and join it and get amongst it.
100%, mate, 100%. I mean, I've made good friendships here. Like you and me in the commentary booth, we've developed a good friendship. I know if you came to Melbourne or if I came to your hometown, mate, we'd sit down out at the pub, we'd sit down out at the back of my joint or something, have a barbecue, have a couple beers, and talk about sim racing, go for a few laps on the sim, have a bit of a laugh, and just enjoy ourselves, guys. I mean, I've got mates all over Australia because of this, and we've developed such good friendships, and I've even made such good friendships with people who only live 10 minutes down the road from me. So it's a good, close-knit community. We've all got each other's backs, and when it's outside of racing, it might be head-to-head, and the devil horns might be out once they're in the driver's seat and the helmet's on, but outside of the race, mate, the chat channels, they're full of help. They're always willing to take someone for a hot lap and show them how to tackle the track, or give them a few pointers when it comes to using Jimmy Crew Chief and all that sort of stuff. So as much as the devil horns are out, mate, they're a bunch of softies when they're off the track, and they're willing to help anyone out.
100%. And if I just have a look there, we just see Kai Sloggett's now just come out of the pits for another run. So he's currently in P2. He's only 0.018 behind first, so it'll be interesting to see whether he can put a good lap in here to try and jump over Nash.
Yeah, well, Nash has actually put in another flyer, mate. He's now down to a 124.9, so he's knocked another 2/10 off his fastest time for the session, so he is on absolute fire at the moment. So Kai Sloggett's got a bit cut out, as Rehan Leonard just goes to third place with a 124.687. What an absolute smoker from the 11-year-old.
Great lap. And I'm sure he's got his old man in his corner again tonight like he did last week. So he'll be sitting there giving him some pointers. It's just keeping his head on his shoulders. But I don't think we need to say that anymore, Matt, because we were thinking that last week and it was just flawless. So I think we're going to see much of the same this week.
Yeah, mate. He's a young kid, but boy, is he getting that... the wisdom and the maturity about him at such a young age. He's such a smooth driver. I mean, there's obviously mistakes to be made where there's mistakes to be made on some tricky tracks, but he's worming them all out and he's getting them under control. So I reckon the biggest one for Rehan's going to be the nerves of the race start, and obviously getting underway. So once he can master those, I reckon he's going to be the one to beat this season.
I agree, and I think early in this race, what's going to be very interesting, and you mentioned it earlier in the broadcast through this qualifying session, that there's a lot of undulation change, a lot of direction change. As these tyres wear off, I think with those downhill braking sections, we're going to see a lot of mistakes from drivers, especially when they're trying to make a move. So that's what's going to be interesting, as opposed to last race where it was a totally different racetrack. So it's going to be good to see how these drivers adapt to a totally different racetrack and how they're going to manage those tyres and how they're going to manage those passes, because it's not easy to pass around here. Everything comes up really quick and those change of directions are really quick.
Yeah, mate. They are. And the conditions around here, I mean, I've just got the details up on screen here. I mean, we've got track length of 3.83 kilometres. We've got a race length of 26 laps tonight. So it's not an overly long race, but it's still going to test them. The track temp, however, is sitting at 37 degrees. Now, that's scorching. Last night, the Super Series, I think the boys got up to, about 31, 32 degrees track temp from memory. So that was a little bit cooler, yet the tyres still faded away from them, and a lot of guys had a lot of trouble turning the cars in on the corners and getting their apexes right. So it's going to be a big test for these guys. With the tyre wear, it is big around this track, Aiden. Not should I say big, it's substantially big. The heat, the constant load of the tyres, the left and the right side coming through the S's. Also a lot of curb hopping, so you get that little bit of a brake lock as you come around. The curved braking zones, as you can see here, you're turning right, so it unloads that right front inside tyre. It wants to lock, it wants to pinch. Once you start pinching and locking those tyres, it's game over on the fronts.
Agree, and just changing tact a little bit, I've just got a bit of information that we were talking earlier about Daniel Stevens having a little bit of that incident and having to tow and then start from the back. It's actually race control has decided that cars that tow in quali will be able to keep their qualifying and race on. So that's not too bad for Daniel. So it's going to be good for him.
Yeah, well that's interesting, mate. That's actually very interesting. Obviously, race controls has seen a little bit of leniency. They've realised that these guys are up and coming. They're still learning the ropes of the big V8 supercar. I mean, these things are buses to throw around small tracks like this, especially with so much elevation change, and you're really wrestling it around. So, obviously, still learning the cars as they go along. So, obviously, that's really nice of race control to do that. As we've got Dylan on screen here with the replay, let's see what happens to him, Aiden. He's coming down into the triple hairpin, just runs it off. Obviously outbroke himself on that one.
Definitely outbroke himself. Probably running a little bit too much rear brake bias and couldn't get it rotated in, I'd say. But definitely outbraked that one. He didn't lock a front. I just think he was trying a little bit too hard there.
Yeah, and that corner's extremely tricky, mate. I mean, I wonder if we can try and find someone out on track and see if they're coming across the start-finish line. Might be able to talk a lap through. I'm not sure if you've been around here, mate, but we've got, here we go. Rehan again as he comes across the start-finish line. You've got turn one, which is a off-camber corner, so you want to trail the braking into the carousel here, which is a third gear corner. You want to hug it nice and tight, but ease the power on as you come out and try and use that apron on the left-hand side as you come up over the crest, which you click fifth as you reach the top. Really lights the rear tyres up, but this is a big braking zone, mate. You go from sixth gear all the way down into second, and it's almost like a triple apex hairpin. So triple apex that let the car run a little bit wide to the middle of the track, get on the power, hug the left-hand side of the track, and the real tricky part of the track, mate, it's where you jump a few curbs, under brakes, trailing it in, dab the brakes on nice and hard, back down into second, sometimes first to pull the car up as you bring it around onto the mini back straighty coming up to the first lot of the S's. Fifth gear, little bit of a lift, slide it right out onto the apron, get the power down, get a good drive out to the next set of S's. Now this is a fast lot. Coming in sixth gear, drop it down 2 gears to fourth, over the crest, let the car slide up and over to the apron. Try not go to the grass because that will be your race done there. And then obviously, Aiden, as we were talking earlier, the curved braking zone where it wants to pinch in the second last corner. Final corner back onto the front straight. And it's only a small one here, Aiden, so there's not a lot of slipstream to be had.
No, definitely not. Definitely not a lot of slipstream. The aero wash on the front end of these cars, especially with the undulating curves and the downhill braking, is going to be very, very big.
Hang on, 100%.
Yeah, in behind another car, you're going to get a lot of push. But why don't we, with or not, just under 9 minutes rather. Why don't we crank up the volume again, and why don't we go to a different driver and see? We watched young Leonage earlier rather do a lap. Why don't we crank up the volume and we watch a different driver that
And
has
see
a
how they
better
tackle the
time
track.
and see how they tackle the track. So I believe from looking at my timing, Peter Antoniadis is on track at the moment. Why don't we? Why don't we jump in with him and give him a lap and see the difference how he tackles the track as opposed to Leonage?
Sounds like a plan, mate. Crank up the volume, guys. Watch Peter take you for another hot lap around here. Just notice the difference, though, when he is taking you around between him and the top runners like Leonage and how he handles the track. Alright guys, that is definitely not how you meant to be entering the pits. Peter showing you exactly not how to do it. Bit of a laugh here up in the commentary booth, but big thank you to Peter for doing, he wouldn't even know, but big thank you to Peter anyway for taking us on that little hot lap. We've just got ticked over 7 minutes to go in qualifying, guys, so I'll quickly run you through the ranks. We've got Dave Nash out on top with 124.43, followed up by Sloggett, Leonage, Scholes, Stevens, Garriott, Alessi, Clark, McCarthy, Martin, Reddit, Noble, Hockey, Racanello, Ben, Gaffer, Hayden, Casper, Cant, Antoniadis, Sadler, Dalton, Georgeson. We've got Losh behind him, Bradbury, and then back down in 26th position for Goodyear Autocare Warana Esports. You've got Kai Booth, you've got Dylan Lagarde, Robert Brewer, Peter Latham, Peter Kelly, Colin Burns, Danny Vassell, Andrew Johnson, Paul Gerlin, Thomas Foster, and Craig Gurry, who's rounding out the field. Couple drivers missing. We've only got a 36 car field tonight, guys, so not the full 40 grid that we usually see in the races, but nevertheless, it's still going to be action-packed, so grab a drink, grab some popcorn, kick your feet up, guys. Get yourself nice and comfy for the race. As we see a car off on the grass in the back, I wonder if we can find out who that is. He was missing a bonnet. See if we can find out what happened to him. Again, guys, such a tricky track to get right. Such a tricky track. So many elevation changes. E1 SimSport driver of number 58, Andrew Johnston, just had a little bit of an off there into the hairpin, so outbroke himself. Big brake application through into the hairpin then, so you're coming up from 250k an hour right down all the way back down to about 190k an hour, so 90 to 100k an hour into the hairpin and then back out of it again up all the way up to top gear. So a lot of braking, a lot of accelerating. It's really going to hurt the tyres in this. You don't want to lock the rears. Once you start locking these rears, you're going to start sliding the back end of the car around. And again, as Adam mentioned earlier, the tyre degradation. Tyre degradation is going to be key around here.
And Matt, exactly. And sometimes people will move the brake bias back a little bit to try and get that front to rotate. But especially when you've got a lot of downhill braking zones in this, there's a fine line of whether it's going to want to turn around on you. So it's going to be interesting. Are they going to make it a little bit of a bus on the front and try and get it to go around, or are they going to try and get it to rotate and run that risk of turning around under brakes?
That's it, man. And there's plenty of ways to get this car rotated. You can steer it with the rear end. You can steer it with your brakes. I find a lot that giving that brake a quick dab just as you're coming into the corner really puts the front in, loads the tyres up in the front, and really darts the car through the corner. So obviously a place like Barber, there's a lot of trail braking involved. So the boys are going to be trailing that brake right to the middle of the apex before they start putting that power down to the ground and praying to God that the track temp's not too high and they've got enough tyre life left to be able to get that drive out of the corner.
100%, but you also want to keep that load off that front left or front right tyre. You want to straighten that car up as quick as you can to try and utilise that tyre wear to try and get that power down early, because the longer you stay turned through that corner is the more you're going to use that front tyre. So, and we see one getting loose out of there. But yeah, you're definitely going to use that front tyre. The longer you stay turned and the longer you stay trailing that brake is the less you're going to be able to get onto the throttle. So yeah, it's just going to be, I think this one's going to be really, really interesting to see how they manage it. I really think what we're going to see in qualifying, and we've got one going into the wall there, I think what we see in qualifying is going to be nothing to see what we're going to see in the race. That's
it, mate. I mean, these cars are absolute buses to throw around tracks. I mean, you're a truck driver around on the ovals, so I mean, you know, everyone says, oh, you just turn left, where you guys don't. You've still got to manage your tyres. You're burning your outside tyres in those trucks. So, and it's the same with this. This track, you're really using both sides of your car, so it's not like, right, you know, I can compensate a little bit and just take it a little bit easier through the corners on the left-hand side of the car, for instance. You've got to try and take it easy through the whole entire lap, be smooth, but still being fast at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about creating that momentum, to be honest, and feeling comfortable. It's not necessarily about the fastest lap every race. It's about having the most comfortable race car. You see there that my favourite KFC car, because I like KFC, as you know, from round one. You see that he was getting a bit loose there. It's just going to be about managing those tyres. You can go through and you can do the quickest lap, like we said last time, but manage those tyres, and you've got to be there at the end of the day. But we're only a minute and 33 from the end of qualifying now, Matt. So do you want to take the viewers through the top 20 and let them know the times and see how they're going?
Yeah, mate. Well, we've had a bit of a change for the leady, mate, while you were talking. So as 2 minutes just clicked by, guys, we had Kai Sloggett almost crack into the 123s on a 37-degree track temp. So that's seriously moving. He's just done a 124.1. So he's just popped Nash by 0.3 of a second, or should I say, 3.1 tenths of a second. So that's seriously hooking around here on a hot track. But we've got Sloggett up on top. We've got Nash, Leonard, Scholes, Stevens, Racanello, Garrett, Clark, Alessi, McCarthy round out your top 10. We've got Stephen Martin, Reddit, Noble, Hockey, Ben, Gaffer, Antoniadis. That is a tricky last name, mate. I'm going to struggle with that all season. So
say that twice quickly, Matt.
I bet, mate. I bet. We've got Hayden, Casper, and Cairns that round out your top 20 there, guys. So action-packed. We are only separated now in the top 15 by a second. So the top 15, Aiden, they've really put down the pedal. They've really moved away from the field in qualifying. So they're setting the pace for the race here now in qualifying. They're saying, look at us. We can pull a gap on the rest of the field. Come watch us.
100%, and I'm really surprised at Antoniadis at the moment. He was out of the top 10 for the Bathurst 1000, and he did really well last week. So it looks like he's struggling a little bit around this track tonight, just being in P17 in qualifying. So we'll see how he goes going into the race, but really surprised to see him back there, to be honest.
Yeah, so am I, mate. Look, and it's not a track for everyone. Everyone's going to have their favourite tracks. Everyone's going to have their not so favourite tracks. So they've implemented a 2 drop round rule this season. So the 2 worst rounds for their worst rounds for the season, they're allowed to drop. So that's really going to shake things up in the championship a bit more as well when it comes to the end. So we'll see. Maybe Antoniadis is going to use this one as a drop round. But we'll go from there and just see how his race goes, I guess. Hopefully he can make up some positions. It's hard to overtake here at Barber. There's not a lot of overtaking positions, Aiden. So it's going to be interesting to see how the boys navigate around this track and really try and find some space to get a nose in and and make an overtake.
Yeah, and we see that qualifying's now just wrapping up now. It looks like that those guys are setting their positions, ready to go. So we're nearly ready to set the grid to go green. Really good lap there by Kai Sloggett. Amazing lap. Again, like he did last week, he set the pole. He's shown his hand, so we'll see whether he can actually transition that into a good position this week after his unlucky result from last week.
100%, mate, and that's qualifying done, guys. A little bit more of a bonus incentive to try and get out on pole position as well for the qualifying guys is we're awarding them 5 bonus points for the championship. So it's a little bit more of an incentive, and there's also 5 bonus points to the cleanest racer out there. So 0x means you get 5 bonus points for your championship points. So that's another incentive to try and keep it clean out on the racetrack and have a good race. So. Wrapped up qualifying, Aiden. I mean, hell, it's tight. It's going to be a quick race. As we just see the server switch there, we're now in race mode. Drivers are starting to grid up. So let's get onto the grid, mate. Let's read them out. We've obviously got Kai Sloggett on pole. David Nash in second. We've got Leonage in third. Scholes in fourth for your second row. You've got Stevens and Racanello, Garrett, Clark, Alessi, McCarthy, round out the top 10. Then you've got Martin and Reddit. As we move over to the next page, we've got Noble, Hockey, Ben, Gaffer, Antoniadis, Hayden, Casper, Cairns, Dalton, Sadler, Georgeson, Losh. We have Bradbury, Vassal, Booth, Latham, Lagarde, Brawl, Kelly, Bruns. We've got Foster, Johnston, Gerlin, and we've got Martin rounding out the field there in 36 positions. So wait for the lights, wait for the revs to rise. Looks like we're missing one car off the field here. Just wait for them. Rehan.
Yeah, we're just waiting for Rehan to connect. He'll be there. He is. There he's in. We're ready to go. We're locked.
Grid's locked, guys. Drivers are getting the feel for it. Getting the atmosphere in them. Getting that adrenaline pumping. Waiting for the lights to come up on screen.
It's a short run into turn 1, so let's just wait and see how patient they're going to be into turn 1. Matt, you take us through the first lap. As
Aiden says, guys, short front straight here. Short run into turn 1. Very, very short run into turn 1. Really, as soon as they start, they're pretty much straight into into the turn 1 and then through to the carousel. So look for some 2 wide action, guys. Just waiting for the revs to start rising. Little bit of a delay here on the start. Obviously, a few more cars are gridding up. Here we go, guys. Revs are rising. Lights are up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are underway for the Nationwide Tracking Systems Barber 100. Fantastic start from Kai Sloggett leading them into turn 1. We've got Nash around the outside coming into the carousel. What a move. Does everyone get through cleanly in the back? Little bit of congestion. 3, 4 wide over in the back of the field. Through the carousel, Sloggett and Nash go. Nice and clean. They've already made a gap. Already 1.3 seconds out in front as they come up over the hill. Coming down into the hairpin. Cars going left, right, all over the place. Trying to find track position. 6 gear all the way into second.
Oh no, I think I just heard, I don't know whether I heard that correctly, Matt, and sorry to jump in because you're commentating the first lap, but I just heard that maybe Rian got a black flag. Was that correct, what I heard in the background?
Bad start by Leonage.
My apologies, viewers.
And we have safety car possibly. Oh, push and shove, push and shove. And Antoniadis straight into the wall. So that is race done for him by the looks of it.
I hope we didn't give him the commentator's curse.
Oh, mate, I hope not. I was actually in high hopes for him. So by the looks of it, they're still racing pretty hard here. So I don't think the safety car is being called. So racing's still on. They've sorted themselves out now. They're all in single file as they come back through into turn 1 and up through to the carousel. We've got So Nash out, Sloggett's out in front at the moment by the looks of it, according to my timing board. Then you've got Nash, Leonard, Scholes, Stevens. Oh, here we go. Times are up down on the board here.
We got Rick Anello behind, and then Nicholas Garrett following him as well. So.
Right, and then we've got Clark, Alessi, McCarthy rounding out the top 10. So, looks like a pretty clean start. Only one incident off the start there, Aiden. Now it's time for the drivers to settle in, get a groove going, sort out what the other drivers are doing, how they're taking the course, and start making some moves.
Yeah, exactly. Right now it's about managing the car, managing the tyre wear, getting into that groove. They're going to have to make that pit stop. So, getting used to the car. There's no point doing anything silly too early. Just sit in there. If you have a move and you can make it, but make sure you can make it cleanly. That's
it, mate. And Barber's not a place you can really overtake on. You've really got to get the drive out of the corners through here and try and make your overtakes on the short straights that we've got and try and get up on the inside for the corners. You really want to be side by side. You don't want to be halfway up the car. You don't want to be a quarter of the way up the car to make a move. You really want to be side by side with the car next to you, just so they know, right, he's there. I'll let him through. I'll conceive the position, and we'll get back under racing, slot him behind, and try and make a move in the next corner.
And the thing that's really interesting, if we're looking at this view that we're looking now from the front of Sam Noble's car, is the different lines these guys are taking. I know that the aero wash and everything is making them take those lines, but that's not going to help drivers that are taking the long line with the wrong line rather with their tyre wear. So, and we see the car in front making a little bit of a run there, but this is a really good angle to see where they're positioning their cars to go through the corners and where they're going to go. But if you get too aggressive early now, it's going to really affect you at the back end of the race, as we see a bit of push there.
Yeah, as you see, Sam Noble right up onto the back end of the car in front, just showing him that he's there in the mirrors, making it full, as we've got Racanella out on screen from Dragon RC at the moment. I believe if I have a look, my timing board's not showing me much, unfortunately. I'm not sure who's gained positions or who's lost positions at the moment. Just do a quick refresh for you, Aiden, so we can get underway again. But here we go. So, they've sort of... Well, Racanella's actually lost out on 3 positions. He was back down in 9th. Trent McCarthy's been the big mover in the top 10, mate. Up 3 positions.
Yeah, he definitely has, Matt. Trent's had a really good start going from 10th to 7th.
Yep, and we've just had a drive-through penalty just come through my ear. Number 97 by the looks of it. Danny Vassell with the drive-through penalty. So that must be on the incident for Antianadis there, mate, back on lap 1. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes back from that. Luckily, it's early in the race. Hopefully, fingers crossed for Danny there. He can make up some time once the guys pit.
It would be good if we can at some point to get race control up to explain why that happened. We didn't see it. I know it would be to do with that incident, but just to explain to see what happened and let the viewers know.
Yeah, definitely. We can 100% get the chief steward Anton Gilbert up into the booth shortly. I think he's getting the first couple lap gremlins out of the way, getting all them sorted, handing out the penalties that he needs. So we'll get him up into the booth shortly. But as we see, car 60 back of Rian Lienage on with Matthew Scholes, 605 Matthew Scholes following him nice and close, putting the pressure on young Lienage here from the Nationwide Tracking Systems esports team.
Yeah, Matthew looks really racy here. He just missed the apex before, which didn't help him, but I've been watching him from the start of the race, and he looks very racy on the back of young Lienage. So whether he's willing to sit there, but sometimes when you get in that aero rush, you're going to use those tyres. So does he back off a bit, or does he make the move?
That's it, mate. The aero wash is going to be affecting him through here, especially into these off-camber corners and very fast corners as well. So it'd be interesting to see how he manages his tyres. Might just take it a little bit easier, put the brakes on just that little bit earlier, but just ride them a bit longer, just so he can still stay on the back of Lienage here, but maintain the tyres at the same time.
Well, you can see there where he just went through the tight right-hand corner hairpin. He just missed the apex a little bit. He just didn't get there. It was like the air wash on the back of the car just didn't allow him to rotate into the apex. And now he's getting up nice and close through the faster corners. But with those tight ones, he's really struggling to rotate that car.
He is, mate. He is. And we've just had car 888 Shane Clark get a drive-through penalty for car contact. So another drive-through penalty. Race controls dished out. So unfortunately for Shane Clark, he's currently up in P... I'll just go over to race quickly. He's currently up in P5 by the looks of it. So unfortunate for him. He's as he's dropping down the field now as he serves his drive-through penalty straight away. So a little bit unfortunate, but Aiden, you spoke soon enough, mate. The chief steward, Anton Gilbert, is jumped into the commentary booth. Anton, mate, you've had a very, very busy first couple of laps, mate. Tell us, we've just seen you hand out a penalty to Shane Clark there. What else have you given out, mate, and what for?
Listen, mate, it's actually been a pretty respectful start to the race, in which we were hoping for. So, true accolades to the drivers heading into the first couple of turns. They are blind and they are scary, so well done on their behalf. We issued a penalty to car 97 for the contact there with car 588. And we've also just issued one to car 888 for the contact on car 18.
Mate, only 2 penalties to hand out on a race start on a challenging track. That's obviously hats off to the drivers right there. So obviously a clean start, which you were hoping for. So you can't really complain with that, can you?
No, not at all. And as I said, it is a fairly technical track. It looks fairly simple from the broadcast and from a few of those heli shots. But I've got to tell you, when you're sitting in the cockpit, there's a fair few blind corners there. Where you have full concentration on the application of your driving skills, and listen, sometimes it's extremely easy to come unstuck and lose those braking markers. So again, full credit to the drivers. We're really looking forward to this one.
Beautiful. Thanks, Anton. Guys, that was Anton Gilbert, our chief race control steward for the night, doing an amazing job as usual, as we're on board with Philip Dalton here from the Goodyear Autocare Warana esports team, putting the pressure on Tony Gaffer. Aiden?
Yeah, good driving here by Gilbert. He's right in the thick of it. He's been going good. I'm just going to have a quick look here to go back and see where he's come from his starting position.
He's up 6 spots according to my timing sheet, mate. So he's had an absolute ripper start. He's the big mover at the moment. I actually know. I was about to say he's been the big mover in the top 20, but no, Peter Latham's the big mover at the moment with up 9 positions. But the big loss of the top 20 at the moment is Aaron Raccanello. He's down 10 positions all the way in 18th. 16th, yeah, sorry, my apologies, 16th.
That's very unfortunate for Aaron. And I'm looking at timing here now, too. And you see Darren Nash and Kai Sloggett. They've got the hammer down at the front. They've got nearly a 4-5 second lead. And their average lap time is nearly half a second quicker than third and back. So this might be setting up their race. If they're smart and work together a little bit here, this could be the podium. But we've got to go through pit stops and everything. But they're doing really well. They've put the hammer down and they're gone.
Yeah, as we say, Matthew Scholes really putting the pressure now on young Leonard. He shows the nose coming up into the hairpin and he's made the move. That is absolutely textbook. Rehan realised he was defeat, tried to push him in just a little bit, run him into the a bit tighter into the apex so he can get a line, but Scholes said, no thank you, young Leonard. This is my position for the taking. Now it's time for me to gap you. See you later. I'm going to catch the leaders.
Yep, and that's what I said a couple of laps ago. He needed to make the decision whether it's going to make the move now or whether he's going to sit in behind. So he decided to make the move. It'll be interesting to see whether he can gap him or whether Leonard is going to come back.
Well, by the looks of it, mate, Leonard is all over the back of Scholes as we have Dan Stevens show the nose to young Leonard now. So Dan Stevens really got to think, big slide from Leonard there as he comes over the crest. Stevens really got to think, do I stay with Leonard? Do I try and let him put the pressure on Matty Scholes and try and force him into an error to give me a position? Then I'll make a go. Or do I pass him now and put the pressure on Scholes and possibly waste a bit of my tyre?
If I was Scholes, I'd just be having my head down. I'd be looking forward. They're going to have a lot of pressure on Leonage behind, so that's going to slow up Leonage's times anyway, because he'll probably spend a little bit of time looking in his rear vision mirror. So just try and get 4 or 5 really good laps out and get that gap, and try and consolidate his position going into the pit stops. So, but we know Leonage from last race. He's got a really wise head on young shoulders, so don't write him off yet.
Yeah, and I heard that Leonage is a little bit of a tough one to pass out on track as well after Long Beach. So it'll be interesting to see how Dan attacks Leonage here in the race. Does he conserve his tyres till the first pit stop? Does he really put the hammer down and try and get out in front of him and then make the overcut on him? Or does he sit behind and actually wait for the pit stop to come? Wait to try and get the undercut or the overcut on Leonage, and possibly maybe even Scholes out in front, depending on how much fuel they take on board. So there's many factors that these drivers have to think of whilst out on track. Some of them have been lucky. They've got their guys who are up in the Super Series spotting for them tonight. So that's really going to be helping these guys in the development series to try and nut out, right, this is what I've got to do for strategy. This is how much fuel. This is when I should pit. You know, trying to do all this while on the fly, while trying to steer such heavy cars, and not just heavy, but powerful cars around this tight little track. It's really a big stepping stone in racing for him.
Yeah, and we do have a mandatory pit stop, as we've mentioned, in this race, and they're all going to have to dump the same amount of fuel. They're going to have to dump 78.8 litres into the tank, so it's going to make it a big heavy bus going into the second half of the race after the pit stop. They're averaging about 3 litres per lap on fuel burn, and they're average lap time's about a 1:25.5 around here, which does drop off quite quickly. So once they dump that big lot of fuel in, yes, they're going to take new tyres. It's going to be interesting who's going to go hard on the new set of tyres and try and get it early. And there's going to be a lot of undercuts here too, because if they pit 2 or 3 laps earlier, since they're dumping a 78.8 late 78.8 laps of fuel, rather. Sorry, had to put my tongue in. They're able to pit 2 or 3 laps earlier than the guy in front of them. So that's a massive undercut when you're on older tyres. So it's going to be interesting to see who's willing to do that early and then sacrifice the back end of the race, or who's willing to just play with the leader and do what he does.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, as you said before, mate, you said there's a total fuel drop of 78.8 litres, so that's a fairly heavy tank to be running through the race. But obviously, do you run you start off with 57 litres? Do you run that tank almost bone dry to the smell of an oily rag, and then pit, get your tyres, get your fuel, throw on that extra 20 odd litres of fuel, as we've got by looks at Sadler's in the pits. He's making the first pit stop here for the race. So Gavin Sadler from Pace Syndicate in the pits at the moment. Is that for repairs? Is it for a fast repair, which all drivers get in this series to help them out just that little bit? Or is that one of the first pit stops that we're going to see? But back to what I was saying, mate, you're throwing in 20 odd litres, you're throwing in tyres as well. So the race distance is obviously 26 laps, and from memory, you only get roughly about 17 laps out of a tank. So do you turn it into a 10-lap sprint, or do you play conservative, you pit a little bit earlier, throw in a little bit of extra fuel to make it to the end of the race and really push? So, but we'll leave that one short. We've just got Anton back in the booth again, mate. Anton, what news have you got?
Yeah, guys, just a quick update. Car 97 and Danny Bassel, unfortunately, has had to retire from the race. Just got a little bit caught out there with that earlier incident. Unfortunately, the damage is just too far gone for him to continue.
Well, that's a bit interesting, mate. From memory, I believe the boys had... that's not for me to say, unfortunately. But that is a little bit unfortunate, mate, for Danny there. So, bit hard luck done by him. So, lap 3, he had to retire, as we see up on screen now. So, thank you for that update, Anton. Keep them coming in. We're always interested to hear what's going on in your little booth down there and what the boys are talking about.
Will do, mate. Guys, awesome job as always. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Anton. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Anton. And Matt, just going back to when we were talking about fuel, I think it's all about track position, to be honest. Track position's going to be key around this track. So if you want to pit early to try and get that undercut, that's probably a good decision. But if I was in the top 3 positions right now, I'd be running that tank as long as I could and then coming out, because the last thing you want to do is pit early and get caught up in traffic in 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, because that's really going to affect your lap time. So, and we see one coming in, we can see Nicholas coming into the pits now, but that's what I'd be doing. If I was in 1st, 2nd and 3rd, I'd run it long. If I was in sort of 4th, 5th, 6th or 7th, I'd try and get that undercut.
So we just got the first of our pit stops happening now, guys. Lap 13, so a lot sooner than what Aiden and I predicted. We've got 2nd, 3rd and 4th in the pits. So Kai Sloggett dropping down the order here in pits. Leonard is in the pits. Skulls in the pits. Garrett is in the pits. Who else have we got jumping in the pits here by the looks of it? There's a couple others filing in behind them. So Matty Skulls pops out in 14th, followed by Leonard close behind. David Nash still running it, so maybe he's trying for that overcut on him. Maybe he's trying to get that little bit of an extra gap over Kai Sloggett here, and hopefully gain maybe even a second out of it.
Yeah, he did have a big lead coming into the pits, so now we've got him coming into the pits now. So let's watch him transition through pit lane and see where he ends up when he exits pit lane.
All right, guys, watch this. We'll stay on board with Nash here as he pits, and we'll keep you up to date where Kai Sloggett is out on track. He's just coming up to the first lot of S's by the looks of it, so it'll be interesting to see where he is. He's coming up, second lot of S's now, over the rise, coming through the curved braking zone. So it's going to be biting the nail here. He might have had a good outlap. If Kai got a good outlap, he might be able to get the undercut on him, get around him, make up some time as he comes up on the inside of the Goodyear Autocare Warana entry onto the main straight. Side by side, they come down to turn 1. Nash is coming out of the pits. He's disengaged that pit limiter. He's away into the carousel as Sloggett comes around turn 1. Unfortunately, he was not able to get it done and make up some more time. So Kai Sloggett is now, if I have a quick look at my timing sheet, he is, I've lost him through all the movement. There's a lot of movement going on. Aiden, can you see how much of a gap he's got?
I can't see that on my timing at the moment, but what that does, that proves exactly what I said there. If you pit a little bit early, you can get caught up, and he was too busy, or not too busy, he had to try and pass cars. Well, he was on his fresh tyres, and in the first, second lap, you get your freshest tyres and your quickest lap, and it held him up. So it allowed Nash to get in there and get that pit stop done. If he would have had a clean track, he would have been able to be up there and fighting for that one. So that's what I was saying earlier. You've got to choose when you want to do that, whether you want to pit early and get caught up in people that aren't pitting, or whether you want to wait and go as the leader. If I would have been him, I would have gone when the leader went.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. Nash is now out to 2.3 seconds over Kai Sloggett. Unfortunately, he got caught up in slow traffic and simply just could not get around that slower car in the field there to try and make some time. Even on the outlap for Nash, he was still pulling a bit of a gap. Sloggett just could simply not get around cars, and that's the nature of this track, mate. You cannot make any easy overtaking opportunities. As you saw, they were side by side coming down the main straight, side by side through turn 1, side by side through the carousel. So Shane Clark, 888, coming up on the getting kicked here into their hairpin. Oh, a little bit of sideways action. Try and get that power down nice and early. A little bit too early there by Shane Clark as he drops back into 4th position as Max Slosh comes around him. So shows the nose again, coming back in. It's on here, Aiden. They're really showing noses, burning up them tyres. They know the pit stop's coming. They want to be like, nope, I'm first one into the pit stop. And they're going to be trading places by the looks of it. So that's a nice little battle going on. Dean Alessi, our current leader at the moment from the Middle Finger Racing team, as he comes up and around the curve braking zone. Does he pit? No. Comes through the turn. Misses the apex. as Jonathan Ben comes into the pits. Max Losh, does he come in? No, by the looks of it, Max Losh into the pits. Peter Latham follows behind him. So here we go. Nash making his way back up to the front as the back runners start to make their pit stops.
And we'll just, sorry mate, we'll just wait a couple of laps here, and we'll just wait and see how this plays out, because there's a couple of guys. There's two now that haven't pitted, and that's Dean Alessi and Shane Clark. I know they've probably just come in, but I'm just looking at my timing, so I do apologise if I'm wrong. But this is about to just neutralise itself into the race to see where people are at. We have David Nash and Kai Sloggett obviously at the front there, but Sloggett's quicker than Nash at the moment, so he's going really quick. So once this neutralises, it's going to give us a better insight on where they're sitting in the race.
Yeah, exactly right, Aidan. They're currently, Sloggett is a little bit quicker at the moment, but he's obviously, to be able to be catching up to Nash there, he's going to be doing some times, which is going to be burning his tyres up, and that's probably not going to help him towards the end of the race. So we've got a replay here. Craig Curry gets a little bit taily, able to save it from going on the grass. Good save there by Craig Curry from Riot Sim Racing. So that just proves to you, Aidan, how tricky it is to really get these cars around the track. A little bit of too much right foot. That's it, cars around. And we've got another replay. Obviously, another incident out on track. We've got Aaron Hayden from Dragon RC Esports.
Oh,
a little bit
rear end lock up there.
Yep, big rear. Oh, as he just grazes. As he grazes the Goodyear Autocare Warana entry as he's coming around. So, fingers crossed, that's not a penalty for him. A little bit hard luck, a little bit of rear brake lock there. So, easy to lock your brakes. As you were saying earlier in the broadcast, Aidan, super easy to lock these rear brakes in these braking zones. And why is that, mate?
Definitely, because a downhill braking zone, you're trying to brake when you're going downhill, so the car's wanting to push you forward. So you're going to have to put a lot more brake pressure in to get that. So having that brake bias, whether you want to go rear or front, if you're going downhill, in my opinion, you don't want to have too much front brake bias, because that's going to create push, but then you run the borderline on whether you're going to lock up the rears for having too much rear brake bias. So that's why it's happening. But we see Dean Alessi here, and he's the only one not to pit at the moment. So he's running really long. It's going to be interesting to see where he comes out, though, because his lap times are going to be massively down on the guys behind him. So has he run it too long, or is he going to be up there when he transitions from the pit stop?
No, he's absolutely bleeding time at the moment, mate, just from what my screen is telling me. He's bleeding time staying out there, and the longer he stays out there, the more damage he's going to do. But he may think that getting onto the newer tyre a little bit later on the race, taking on that little bit less fuel, it's going to be like quality laps for him. Dean might be able to punch out some quick times and make up some spots, but again, as we always say, mate, it's Barber, it's tight, it's tricky, and it's tough to overtake.
Exactly, so that's probably not a really good thing for Dean to drive late into his strategy, because he might be fast later, but you've got to be able to make the move. So again, like I said earlier, probably should have pitted with the leaders or pitted with people around him. He's trying something different, might be banking on a safety car. Don't know what he's doing here, but he's still doing a good job to be at the lead. So we'll see where... Here he goes. He goes into the pits now, so we'll see where he'll transition out of the pits.
Righto, guys. Dean Alessi's in the pits. We've just had word that our cameraman, JP, the man behind these track cams by Gourmet, showing you these amazing pictures. He's going to let us know when Alessi pops out of the pits. But we've got Kai Sloggett in third position. He'll be in second position now as he goes past Alessi in the pits. David Nash out in the lead at the moment by 2.21 seconds, guys. Matty Scholes not far behind, but should I say not far behind, Matty Scholes is miles behind. These two front runners, Nash and Sloggett, have pulled out a 6.5 second lead over Matty Scholes and Rehan Leonard. So Alessi has come out in 11th or 12th, so that's a 2-position loss for him from the start. He started in 9th, he's down in 11th at the moment, but he's on the newer tyre than what everyone else is on. So it'd be interesting to see if he can punch out some quali laps and get around some cars. As you can see him putting the heat on here as he's coming into the hairpin.
Yeah, agree, Matt. This is going to be the most aggressive 7 laps of his life, I think, to be able to get up into the top 5. I think he's got the car to be able to do that with the guys around him in relation to tyre wear. But like you said, it's really hard to pass around here, so this is going to be a lot of real racecraft to be able to put that car in the right position and just salvage something out of this to go into round 3.
100%. As we've got Dan Stevens, our championship leader, shows a nose to Rian Leonage, goes off the track, close call as they come up over the hill. Stevens really putting the pressure on young Leonage here as they come through the curved braking section, the second last corner. Shows a nose on the inside. Does he line himself up on the outside to try and take the outside of turn 1 and come into the carousel and try and get the inside? Todd, thanks for joining us from Race Control, mate. We'll get to you in just a second, as the action's just starting to heat up at the front of the field here. Through turn 1, they go up into the carousel. Dan Stevens shows the nose on the inside and takes Leonage out.
Leonage is gone.
That's heavy news. Dan Stevens just took
be looking at that one.
Dan Stevens just took young Leonage out. Let's get a replay of this. Coming through the carousel. This might be the lap before by the looks of it. Wondering if we can get the right replay up here. Todd, will get to you in just a second, mate. Just watching this replay here. Thanks for holding there, mate.
Yeah, I'm just watching this replay as well as you guys speak there. So,
hey, you might be filling us in on what's going to be happening, mate. So here we go. Dan Stevens around the outside of Leonage into turn 1 here as they come up through into the carousel.
Leonage is holding his line here.
Dan's not out on the grass, so he's played it cool. He's played it good. He's made Leonage run that tight line. What happens here? Does Leonage close the door? Yes.
Yes, he does.
Now, Todd, you're watching this. You're in race control, mate, and you obviously make all these calls with Anton and all the boys down here. Give us a race control perspective. Was he up far enough to put the move on, Todd?
yeah, so I haven't spoken to the boys in race control. I've just been listening to you guys. It looks like he is up far enough to make the move, but unfortunately with him making contact there, that would be very much brought down, and would expect a penalty to be coming his way in due course, because he did make contact, but he did gain an advantage from that and hasn't healed. So we'll be looking into that. So I can't make an official decision on that, but if I was in there, that's what would be my call.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, from race control itself. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but by the looks of it, due to the contact, our championship leader, Dan Stevens, may be facing a drive-through penalty for that contact on young Leonage there coming through the carousel. So Leonage has dropped down into our 6th position behind Nick Garrett here. So we'll have to make sure to see how we go. We'll keep an eye on him and see how he goes throughout the race. Todd, you've obviously jumped in here, mate, to give us some news from Anton. What have you got for us, mate?
Mate, well, just before all of the excitement happening, we're saying how great the driving standards has been in this race for such a small little track at Barber, and especially after last night in the main series. These guys have been putting on a really great show, and yeah, it's been quite quiet in race control until I popped up here, so yeah.
Well, mate, look, we won't hold you any longer. We'll let you go back to the boys in race control, sort out this incident between Leonage and Stevens here. And, yeah, Todd, any one of the boys jump back in, let us know what the incident is. No doubt we'll see it up on our screen, so we look forward to hearing back from Todd shortly, guys. We've got Sam Noble on screen in position 8, as we have, what have we got, Aiden? 5 laps to go by the looks of it. So, dying stages of the race now, guys. 5 laps to go. Tyres are starting to get old. The drivers are starting to get tired and fatigued. It's been a long race. We've been going at it now for just over 30 minutes. Not to mention the hour-long qualifying that they've had before. So an hour and a half they've been out on track, guys, punching out laps, sitting in their seats, wrestling these big, heavy V8 supercars around the Barber Motorsport Park in Alabama for the nationwide tracking systems Barber 100.
Yeah, and that was a really unfortunate incident for the young Leonage, so it'll be interesting to see what race control decides to do with that. But we're now looking at Peter Latham trying to go around my favourite KFC car. You know I love KFC. I'm going to be talking about him all season, mate. Going to be talking about him all season. So, yeah, been really good race so far. And as Race Control said, the quality of racing in this series in the first 2 rounds has been absolutely astonishing. So they should take their hats off, be really proud. Really unfortunate for that incident there, but I put that down to a racing incident too. They're racing hard for a position, but I'm just the commentator. I do not decide that, so we'll see what Race Control decides.
That's right, mate. And the big news at the moment, what I'm looking at on my timing screen, is David Nash has pulled out an almost 4-second lead over Kai Sloggett. So he has really put the hammer down out front here. As you can see, he's got clear track all around him. No one to really bother him as he starts to come up on a few laps cars here, though. So obviously, these laps cars, the tail end of the field, going to be showing that blue flag a little bit. Do they get out of the way and just let him straight by, or do they make him sit there and go around the hard way and try and find that safe place to go?
Yeah, and David's last lap was actually nearly a second quicker than the guy behind him. So, quicker than Kai. So that was a really, really solid lap. That's like a second quicker around here is really, really quick. So that set him up into a really good position to be able to win this race. Like, we're very short now. We're only a couple of laps through. So I think he's nearly got this one in the bag if he just keeps his head in it. I don't think the lap cars are going to come into it. I just think he needs to keep his head into it, and he'll be done. He'll win this race. I think we're looking at the race winner now, to be honest.
Oh, well, you heard it, folks. Aiden has predicted Dave Nash from Riot Sim Racing to win the race. I mean, look, it's not over till you cross the finish line, mate, so anything can happen. It's Barber, it's tricky, it's Taylor, the tyres are starting to get old. By the looks of it, he's got this car on rails as he comes around the one of the Coglin, or should I say the E1 Sim Sport, E1 Sim Racing cars, should I say, of, if I could just grab a name from the bottom of the list there. I can't really tell. My timing board's all up to how you going.
And so, we're just looking at a replay here of Todd Martin, Matt. He's just gone off a little bit on the outside there on the grass. He's kept it off the wall.
No. Todd Martin, the privateer in the number 17 Ford Mustang, and I've just heard news in my side ear, mate, that drive-through penalty for Dan Stevens, our championship lead for car contacts with young Leonard. He's now copped the drive-through, so that's going to see him drop all the way down to the field. So, be interesting to see. By the looks of it, he doesn't have enough time.
Oh, now he's gone wide. Trying to overdrive it a little bit there, I think, trying to make up going into his penalty if he hasn't already done it. So
he's only got a lap to do it, mate. Otherwise, he's going to suffer the consequences if he crosses this line with a black flag. So he's only got maybe a lap to go to dish out this penalty and serve it. Pit lane transit, guys, it is 71, 72 k's an hour, so it's a fairly quick transit. As we see Kai Booth all over the back of your favourite entry gate in the KFC from Century Motorsports, all over the back of him, left, right, left mirror, right mirror, left mirror, right mirror, all over the back, curved braking zone into the second last corner. We'll stay with it, see if he gets it done along the main straight here, even though it's short. If he can get the drive off here, clips the apex nice out onto the apron.
He better not touch my zinger bacon and cheese.
Hey, mate, he might just spin him around for you to get it smoked up nice.
That's all right, mate. So that'll be good. That'll be good. No, but this is really good racing, so it's going to be good to see how this plays out. We're only 2 laps to go till the end, so we'll have to go through and see David and Kai at the front and bring this home and let those winners get amongst it, because this has been a really good race and the quality of this racing's been amazing.
There's been battles as he goes.
Anyway, I'll let you take over this, Matt. We're going to the front, and you take us through to the end, mate.
Oh, well, I'll still bounce off you, mate. Don't worry, I won't let you leave you out there to hang to dry. As we've got Dan Stevens into the pit serving his penalty. So let's watch this, guys. Let's see how far. I'll keep you up to date. I'll let you guys know how far he drops down the field. That's our championship leader that just got a drive-through penalty. So big big change up in the race there. He was really fighting to maintain the championship lead at the moment. But now he's on the back burner. He's dropping down positions. So we'll just monitor that one there. But Aiden, there's been some fantastic racing all through the field here at the moment. So as my timing board's just gone dead, so if I can get just Aiden to fill me in on whereabouts Dan Stevens has popped out. 15th of 16th.
Yeah, he's 15th. 15th. He's popped out in 15th. So it is bad for Dan Stevens, but not terrible. Considering where he went in round one, obviously being leader and stuff like that. So that's
guys,
not game changing.
Sorry to cut you off, Aiden, but we've got Dave Nash coming in, flashing the lights as he comes around the last corner at Barber Motorsports from the Nationwide Tracking Systems Barber 100. Lights ablaze as he comes across the finish line, and by the looks of it, he slowed it down quite a fair bit over that. So he was obviously fairly confident that he had a big enough lead. But guys, Dave Nash is your race winner, followed by Sloggett and Skoll on the podium. So Matty Skoll's in third position, young Lienage down in fifth. Unfortunate race for him, Aiden. Got spun by Stevens there towards the end through the carousel. So I'm pretty sure he'd be a little bit upset with that one.
100% he would, but he would have been there. It just shows that he's got the mature head on the young shoulder again. He would have definitely podiumed that one. He would have gone 2 podiums, but let's not take nothing away from the winner, David Nash. That was an absolutely amazing drive for David, with Kai, really good transition from round one after having such unfortunate luck. And Matthew Scholes, he drove really well early and before that pit stop and made that move really decisive on young Lienage to be able to put himself into the podium. So really good from those top 3 drivers.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. Fantastic drive by Nash out in front. Took the win by 4.5 seconds over Kai Sloggett. And just a couple seconds back was Matty Scholes. But we'll see if we can get the unofficial race results up on screen. Actually, we might even wait a few seconds. We'll just see if David Nash decides to get a bit of a smoke show happening, mate, as he goes across the start-finish line. So here he goes. Second last corner into the last corner. Let's watch Dave Nash, guys, light up the rear tyres and celebrate such a superb race victory. Tips it in across the start-finish line. Smokes those Dunlop tyres right up. Does he have enough fuel to keep going? By the looks of it, he's got plenty. On the brake he goes. Look at that, guys. Fantastic smoke display by our race winner. We'll see if we can get some unofficial results up on screen for you shortly so we can run you through them. Here we go, guys. David Nash from Riot Sim Racing, our race winner over Kai Sloggett. Matty Scholes on the bottom step of the podium in third position, followed up by Garage. Lienage in fifth. Hockey, Noble, Reddit, Gaffer, Alessi rounds out the top 10. So he made up a little bit of time after his pit stop, mate. He pitted a bit late, but made up some time to make it into the top 10. We've got Dalton, Racanello, Ben McCarthy, Martin Sadler, Latham, Booth, Bradbury, Clark rounding out the top 20. Excuse me. Next page we've got Max Losh, followed up by Casper Hayden, Foster, Stevens, Cully, Georgeson down in 27th position. Colin Burns, Colin Bruns. I'm going to mess that up all season. I apologise about that one. Andrew Johnson and Todd Martin down in 30th, 1 lap down. And then we've got Gerwin, Gurry, Cairns, Antoniadis after unfortunately crashing out at the start of the race. We've got Braw, Black, Vassal, Lagarde, and that is all. Lagarde rounding out the field there. So our race winner, by the looks of it, has got plenty of fuel on board. He is still going.
He's loving it. I don't think he'll be able to run these tyres next week, mate. I think they're gone.
Yeah, I think he's completely toast on them, mate. So he jumps back in the pits. We'll see him up here in the commentary booth shortly. We've got drivers lining up. We've got our podium lining up slowly in the green room waiting for us. So we'll drag them in shortly, guys. But fantastic race by everybody in this field tonight, Aiden.
Yeah, absolutely amazing driving. Great to watch, just like it was in round one. We'll drag those drivers up for an interview now and have a chat and see what they thought about the race.
Sounds like a plan, mate. Let's do it. We'll drag them all up into the booth now. We've got David Nash, our race winner. Kai Sloggett in second position, just waiting for our third place sitter, Matty Scholes. But look, we'll start off with the race winner, mate. David Nash, what an absolute drive, mate. You blitzed the field by 4.5 seconds. Back to Kai Sloggett there. Mate, how do you think the race went?
Yeah, it was good. I got the jump. I sort of pushed myself from the outside of Kai there and sort of, I knew he was quick. Obviously, out qualified me, so it was just a matter of trying to preserve the tyres and keep him behind me at a decent gap. But I could see him coming, so I just pushed a bit harder. And yeah, the tyres really held on that race, so I was pretty happy.
Mate, there was the big talk in the commentary booth about tyre life. Obviously, Barber Motorsport Park, a lot of elevation change, a lot of curves, braking zones. We mentioned it all throughout the broadcast, and we couldn't stop talking about it. How did you manage the tyres throughout the whole race?
Just keeping Kai or whoever I'm around at that distance, at that gap, so you can sort of preserve your tyres, and obviously they drop back, and you can kind of judge how far you're pushing it.
Yep. Look, mate, hang around. We'll get back. We'll come back to you for a bit more of a chat. We'll go to our second place sitter at the moment, Kai Sloggett, also our podium sitter in qualify. Kai, obviously had a fairly good qualifying session. You topped the qualifying session by 0.3 of a second, and then sort of fell back in the race down in a second and just couldn't get past David.
Yeah, I tried to just take it easy in the first lap and misjudged it. And as he said, he stuck around the outside and got that second corner inside line there, and just tried to pace myself all the way to the pit stop because I knew I just had to get the pit stop out of the way. Stuffed it up last week, but during the last bit of that stint, my tyres were pretty much cactus. So all credit to David.
Yeah, and Kai, it's Aiden here, mate. Sorry to chop you off, Matt.
Nah, you're all right, mate.
You had a really, really good round in round one, and it obviously went unfortunate for you during the race. So how was that mentally coming into round two? Again, you were up the top of the timesheets and showing what you got. How did you feel coming into round two?
Actually, this round was all about just getting that finish, mate. Like, I was quite happy to see David drive away from me. I just wanted to get that finish. Playing up to the race, it was on. But like I said, I just wanted to get that pit stop done. And
now you talk about the pit stop there, Kai. What was your strategy? Did you want to try and run the tank to the smell of an oily rag, or did you want to come in with a bit of fuel to save, take on just that little bit extra so you could push a bit through the race? What was your strategy there, mate?
Well, it depended on how far out he was on me. He was around the 3 second mark, so I thought if I could get in there early, do the undercut, get out in front, but it didn't work out that way. But yeah, it was always going to be down the middle, fuel wise. But yeah.
And it's funny you say that, Kai, because I mentioned in the commentary you were going for the undercut, but you got caught up with a couple of back markers, or not back markers rather, but other cars where you couldn't get that clean run. So that really was probably, I think, the defining factor on your race. Do you agree with that, or what do you think?
Out, he was 2.6 in front of me, and that's when I went in. So I would have made at least a second on him. He still probably would have been in front, but they did play a factor there. I probably lost a second.
Well, good race anyway, mate. It was amazing. Good to see you come back from last week with the unfortunate incident. So, yeah, head high, mate, and push on to round 3 next week. Can't wait to commentate it with you.
Now on to our third place sitter, Matty Scholes. Obviously, a bit of a gifted position thanks to the incident between Dan Stevens and Leonage. But Matty, awesome drive, mate. You drove hard, you played the patient, you waited for the boys up in front to make a move. You saw them battling quite a bit. What was your whole plan through that whole situation where they were battling for 75% of the race?
Mate, my plan was just to try and stay clean. Dave and Kai showed their speed through qualifying, mate. So my plan was just to try hold the rest of them off, basically. And yeah, it was good late there when they little incident happened, and it gave me that little bit of breathing space.
That's it, mate. That's it. And obviously, warm track out there today. Dan from Coghlan Engineering set you guys up with what looked, by what Dave showed us, looked like the car was handling on rails with what we saw out on track. So how did you find the car and the setup, mate, around Barber Motorsport Track?
Mate, tonight it was good. I thought it was a really good car. During the practice session there, when we had it was 50-something degree track, and I thought this is horrible, ice skates, but no, it was good tonight. It held on well.
Aiden, got anything to say?
No, just well done, Matthew. Great drive, mate. You're sitting in fourth for a bit there, and you did a really good drive, very solid drive, very mature drive. We're watching you a lot through the race, so really good to be able to convert that into a podium. You could see that you were sitting back there and just trying to get the car through, so you made your moves when you needed to, and really good drive, mate. It was really good to watch from a broadcast point of view.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It was good. I thought last week we probably had the opportunity to put two cars in the podium as well, but stuffed up our pits, so it's good to have two of them up this week.
The thing I thought was you made that decisive move. I think it was on Leonage. I believe it was you. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was commentating and saying you're either going to make a move or you're going to sit behind, and you made that decisive move, and that put you on the podium. So yeah, really good drive, mate, and heads up to next week, and we'll see you in round 3.
Yep.
Stick around, Matty. We'll get you around for a bit of a chat with the boys. Now, we look to next week, guys. Oran Park, back into the land of Down Under, the non-existent track of V8 Supercars racing. Oran Park, bit of a tricky one, guys. Another tight one, bit similar to Barber Motorsports. Guess we'll start off with Kai. You looking forward to Oran Park, mate?
Definitely, it's an Aussie favourite, isn't it? Like you said, it's going to be similar to Barber Motorsports Park. Slippery. Obviously, it's going to be a hot track like tonight, so it's going to be fun.
Dave, mate, what are your thoughts?
Qualify at the pointy end and then go from there, basically.
I think that's everyone. I think that's everyone's plan, Dave.
Yeah.
Matty, you hoping for a good result, good qualifying, a good result out at Oran Park next week, mate?
If we don't qualify up front, then it's sort of, game over. I think you got to be in the top 5 there. Otherwise, you're going to do it tough.
Yeah, that's a good point, mate. You do make a very good point there. Actually, Oran Park is it's not identical to Barber, but it's got its similarities. It's got a lot of undulation. It's got a lot of heavy braking zones, curved trail braking zones, and also it's very, very tight. It's very hard to actually run two cars wide. So, I mean, Dave and Kai, you guys had a little bit of a battle tonight running too wide. Matty, you two coming around Leonage there. I guess, how did you boys find putting the car up the inside of the guy that you were trying to overtake?
I think if you gain the trust of that person next to you, it's not too bad. The other guy can open the steering and all that sort of stuff. So the more races we do with everyone in this field, the more confident you get driving side by side.
Yeah, definitely. You just got to have a trust, and each race you do with each bloke, you get more confident out of it. So, yeah, just a quick shout out to the sponsors for MFR, Snap-on Tools, Aussie Designs, and Science and Designs, Virtual Car Art, and Liquid Molly.
Good little plug there, Dave. We may as well, while Kai's on the sponsor train there, we may as well get our race winner David Nash to give a quick plug to his sponsors, mate. Any thanks going out to family and friends as well?
Yeah, all family, friends. Brent the dog Nastanek, Riot Sim, And we have Bruce Tannock in Hamilton, Mag and Turbo again.
There we go. Thank you, mate. And Matty Scholes, we'll finish up on the sponsor train with you, mate. Who would you like to thank?
Mate, I just thank the Riot boys. Good bunch of blokes to have a drive with. So, yeah, just thanks to them boys.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. Look, guys, amazing race tonight. It was a tough one, but, that's what this development series is all about. We see, Matty, you've only, I think it was Matty Pop, I believe I saw something that you joined iRacing last year in 2020. Was that correct?
Yeah, I did. So did Nashy too. So the pair of us.
Oh, was that a bit of a COVID lockdown sort of impulse buy, was it? Or
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
It really was.
Yeah, that's all right. So, I mean, this series is obviously aimed at you guys and guys alike who are obviously relatively new to iRacing. I mean, you've been on it for nearly a year now, so that's 12 months. It's a fair time in the sim seat. But obviously, the series, the Goodyear Autocare Warana V8-T2 E-Series is aimed at you guys. How are you finding it? Is it really developing the racecraft with you guys?
Yeah, I think early on it's just all about learning the sim compared to if you've ever driven like any of the other stuff, the PS, the platform games, mate. It's a totally different beast, and then to throw the V8 in there as well, it just adds a whole different element. But mate, yeah, now you sort of got control of it. It's more about finding the tenths and here and there under your braking and apexes and stuff. So yeah, getting used to it.
Yeah, you guys do a great job with this series and broadcast and everything too. Everybody wants to be a part of it, so everyone puts the effort in. Everyone wants to be a part of it, so that's a good thing that comes out of it.
Yeah, thanks, Guy. It means a lot to all of us, and JP puts it on, which is really good. But without the people like Goodyear, Autocare, Warana, Coghlan Engineering, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, Abruzzi Raceware, NTS tracking systems, this wouldn't be available. So thank you to all those guys through this broadcast. Thank you, Matt, for joining me in commentary. Thank you guys for allowing you guys to be able to get up and show the viewers and talk to them after the race. I really appreciate it. But Matt, take us out.
Yeah, no, Aiden, you're 100% right, mate. This series, it's as I said earlier in the broadcast, mate. The series can always be run with sponsors and everything like that. But it's the drivers like Dave, Kai, Matty, and the rest of the field that really put on the show for us. So a big thank you goes out to you guys, taking time out of your evenings. You could be spending it with family, cracking a few beers with some mates, and having a laugh. You decide to sit in the sim, doing what you love, and putting on a show for everybody sitting at home watching. So big thank you goes out to you guys. But that will be it for us tonight. Unfortunately, guys, we'll start wrapping up the stream. Actually, we will go to the unofficial championship points because before I forget, that's one thing I haven't done. So as we have our race winner tonight, David Nash is currently sitting on top with 296 points, followed up by the young Leonage. Matty Scholes jumps up into third position with 286 points. Sam Noble with 282. Tony Gaffer, 276. Daryl Hockey with 270. Tied with Nick Garage at 270. We've got Dean Alessi who finished 10th tonight at 268 points. Jonathan Ben with 264, and Trent McCarthy rounding out our top 10 with 262. Then you've got Rackanoa, Sloggett, Stevens, Bradbury, Sadler, Latham, Losh, Cairns, Hayden, and Casper for your top 20. Gerland, Booth, Clark, Foster, Lagarde, Antonia, Artis. I'm going to get it right eventually by the end of the season. Bear with me, folks. Georgeson, Black, Braw, Vassal, and we've got Rita, Dalton, Martin, Kelly, Bruns, Johnson, Martin, Gurry, and that rounds out the field of 38 cars. So, Dave, Kai, Matty, sensational racing, mate. Thanks again for putting on such an incredible show for the viewers at home. We head off to Oran Park next week, guys. Back to the land down under in Australia. We're all looking forward to it. Similar track to Barber. It's tight. It's weavy. A lot of curved braking zones and a lot of curved acceleration zones, which are really going to test the tyres out for these boys in the setups. So join us next week, guys, for the Goodyear Autocare Warana V8-T2 E-Series at Oran Park. I'm Matt Davis, joined by Aidan Schultz and our podium sitters, David Nash, Kai Sloggett, and Matty Scholes. That's all for tonight. Take care, and we'll see you next week.